Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, coin lovers and history hunters. Today we are going to dive into one of the most fascinating and talked about coins of modern times, a coin that you might still find in your pocket change without realizing how special it really is. I'm talking about the 2009 United States Lincoln 1-cent coin. This coin is not just another penny, it represents a turning point in American coinage, a celebration of history, and for collectors, it can sometimes be worth much more than just a single cent. By the end of this video, you'll see why so many collectors and treasure seekers are on the lookout for these coins, and you'll want to check your own change right away. The year 2009 was not an ordinary one for the Lincoln cent. It marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself. Because of this historic milestone, the U.S. Mint decided to release not just the standard design, but 4 special reverse designs to honor Lincoln's incredible journey in life, from his humble beginnings to his leadership as president. Each of these 4 designs tells a story, and together they paint a picture of America's 16th president in a way that no other coin ever has. The first design shows Lincoln's humble birth and childhood in Kentucky, with the image of a simple log cabin that represents the tough, modest beginnings from which he rose. The second design highlights his formative years in Indiana, with young Lincoln sitting on a log, reading a book, and showing his dedication to learning. The third design honors his professional life in Illinois, where he worked as a lawyer and legislator, standing tall before the State House. And finally, the fourth design depicts his presidency in Washington, D.C., with the unfinished Capitol dome symbolizing a nation still growing and facing challenges during the Civil War. These 4 reverses were released throughout the year and captured the attention of collectors everywhere. On the obverse side of the coin, of course, remains the familiar portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has graced the penny since 1909. But in 2009, that portrait had a renewed significance. It tied together a century of history with a bicentennial celebration, making these coins instant historical treasures. Now, while millions of these coins were minted and used in everyday transactions, not all pennies are created equal. The key to their value lies in condition, rarity, and sometimes minting varieties or errors. Many of the 2009 Lincoln cents were made of zinc with a copper coating, as has been the case since 1982, but a limited number were struck in a special composition of 95% copper for collector sets. These copper versions are more desirable and often command higher prices, especially in pristine condition. Collectors also look for certain errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or variations in the details of the design. These errors occur rarely during the minting process, and when they do, they make the coin unique. Error coins are like one-of-a-kind pieces, and collectors will pay a premium to add them to their collection. Even regular 2009 Lincoln cents can carry surprising value if they are found in uncirculated, high-grade condition. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC evaluate coins on a scale, and a high-grade 2009 cent with sharp details, strong luster, and no visible flaws can skyrocket in value compared to one that has been circulating in pockets and purses for years. This is why collectors often seek out rolls of uncirculated coins from banks or sealed mint sets, because those are where the gems are hiding. The 2009 Lincoln cent is more than just a coin, it's a piece of living history. It connects us to Abraham Lincoln, to America's struggles and triumphs, and to the artistry of U.S. coinage. Holding one of these pennies is like holding a reminder of resilience, determination, and progress. And when you add the collector factor into the mix, the rarity, the errors, the mint state examples, you get a coin that can be worth far more than you'd expect. So now comes the big reveal. While most people would never think twice about a penny, some 2009 Lincoln cents in exceptional condition or with rare varieties have reached astonishing prices in auctions and sales. In fact, one of these coins has sold for as much as $25,900. Yes, you heard that right. $25,900 for a single Lincoln penny from 2009. Imagine finding one of those in a forgotten coin jar or in your pocket change. It's proof that sometimes the most incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. So make sure you take a close look at every 2009 penny you come across, because you never know what you might be holding. Today we are going to step back into the early 1980s, a time when the United States was going through big changes, economically, politically, and culturally. In the middle of all this, a small copper-colored coin was circulating in nearly every American's pocket, purse, or piggy bank. At first glance it might look like just another penny, but when you dig a little deeper, the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent coin tells a fascinating story. Not only does it reflect the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and a century of tradition in U.S. coinage, but under the right circumstances, this little coin can also be worth far more than a single cent. By the time we're done, you'll see why collectors are paying close attention to this specific year, and you'll want to start looking through your change with sharper eyes. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, when it was first issued to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the portrait of Lincoln on the obverse became instantly iconic and has remained on the penny for well over a century. By 1981, the design had already been part of American life for more than 70 years, and it was as familiar as the face of Lincoln himself. But this year, 1981, was also very important for a technical reason. It was the final full year that pennies were made primarily out of copper. For decades, the Lincoln penny had been struck using an alloy of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gave the coin its distinctive reddish-brown look and a solid weight in the hand. But by the late 1970s and early 1980s, rising copper prices made it more expensive for the U.S. Mint to produce the penny than the coin was actually worth in circulation. In other words, the metal in the penny was starting to cost more than 1 cent, and that was a problem. The Mint experimented with alternative compositions, and in 1982, the major change happened. Pennies began to be made from a mostly zinc core with just a thin copper plating. That's why 1981 pennies are so interesting. They represent the last true era of the heavy copper cent, a type that collectors treasure for both historical and aesthetic reasons. If you've ever held a pre-1982 penny and compared it with one minted after that year, you'll notice the difference in weight and feel right away. For many collectors, 1981 marks the end of an era. Now let's talk about the design details of the 1981 Lincoln cent. On the front, or obverse, you'll find the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln facing to the right, with the words, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty" on the left, and the date, 1981, on the right. Depending on where it was struck, you may also find a small mint mark just below the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark at all for Philadelphia. On the reverse, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, with "United States of America" above, "E Pluribus Unum" in smaller letters just below, and "1 cent" at the bottom. If you look very closely at the memorial with a magnifying glass, you can even spot a tiny image of the statue of Lincoln seated inside, a clever detail that many people overlook. Even though millions of these coins were produced, not all 1981 Lincoln cents are created equal. For collectors, condition is everything. A penny that has been heavily circulated, with scratches, dings, or fading details, will usually only be worth face value. But one that has been preserved in uncirculated condition, shiny, crisp, and untouched by time, can be worth significantly more. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades meaning sharper details, brighter luster, and no visible flaws. A 1981 Lincoln cent graded in the highest mint state categories can bring in serious money. Another reason this year's pennies are collectible has to do with varieties and errors. During minting, mistakes sometimes happen, and when they do, those coins often become highly sought after. For example, doubled dies, where design elements are stamped more than once and appear doubled, can make a coin extremely rare and valuable. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, or other unusual errors like filled mint marks or clipped planchets, also attract collectors because they are essentially one of a kind. These error coins are treasures hidden in plain sight, and some 1981 Lincoln cents with striking errors have fetched impressive sums at auctions. It's also important to mention proof coins from this year, struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins are specially made with polished dies and blanks, producing a mirror-like finish that regular circulation coins don't have. These proofs were sold to collectors in special sets, and when kept in pristine condition, they remain highly desirable today. Some of these 1981 proof cents even show variations in the mint mark styles, known as Type 1 and Type 2's mint marks, which makes them even more collectible. So now comes the exciting part, the value. While most 1981 Lincoln cents you find in change are only worth a penny, the rarest examples, especially those in top-grade uncirculated condition or with major errors, have shocked collectors with how much they can sell for. And in fact, one of these seemingly ordinary pennies has reached an astonishing auction price of $43,300. Yes, you heard that right, $43,300 for a single penny from 1981. Imagine finding that kind of coin sitting unnoticed in a jar of old change or tucked away in a forgotten drawer. It's proof that even the smallest coins can hold incredible stories and incredible value. So the next time you come across a 1981 penny, don't just pass it by. Take a closer look, check its condition, and if you see something unusual, you might just have a rare and valuable treasure on your hands. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's part history lesson, part treasure hunt, and part adventure. Today we're going to travel back to the year 1979, a year full of change and transition in the United States, to explore the fascinating story of the Lincoln 1-cent coin from that time. You might be surprised to discover that this little coin, often ignored or left in jars, can actually be worth far more than its face value if you have the right one. The 1979 Lincoln cent is part of one of the longest-running coin series in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln on his 100th birthday, the Lincoln penny became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of symbolic figures like Liberty. By 1979, the design had already been in circulation for 70 years, and it remained a symbol of both continuity and American tradition. The obverse of the coin, designed by Victor David Brenner, shows the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, facing to the right. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 1979 accompany his portrait. Depending on where the coin was minted, you may also find a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco below the date. Philadelphia, as was the custom at the time, produced coins with no mint mark. On the reverse, you'll see Frank Gasparo's design of the Lincoln Memorial, which had been adopted in 1959. This design included a tiny but impressive detail, the statue of Lincoln visible inside the memorial, a miniature within a miniature that added depth and artistry to the coin. Now, most people glance at a 1979 penny and see nothing unusual. After all, over 6 billion pennies were produced that year across the three mints, making it one of the most common coins of its era. But rarity in coin collecting doesn't always come from how many were made, it often comes from condition, quality, and mistakes made during production. That's where the 1979 Lincoln cent becomes fascinating. Let's start with condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless coin in perfect mint state condition. While billions of these pennies circulated in pockets and cash registers, only a small fraction survived in pristine condition. Collectors seek out these mint state examples, and the higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. A 1979 penny with sharp detail, bright luster, and no signs of wear can sell for far more than face value, but even more exciting are the proof coins, struck at the San Francisco Mint. Proof coins are made using specially polished dies and planchets, resulting in a sharp, mirror-like finish. In 1979, the San Francisco Mint released proof sets for collectors, and among them, some pennies show variations in the S mint mark. Certain mint mark styles or variations are considered rarer than others, which add significant value to these coins. A flawless proof with the right mint mark can be a highlight in any collection. Error coins are another reason why the 1979 penny captures attention. Errors can happen in countless ways: a doubled die creating a shadow-like doubling of letters or numbers, an off-center strike leaving part of the design missing, a clipped planchet resulting in an incomplete edge, or even a filled die causing parts of the design to vanish. These mistakes, while unintended, make each coin unique. Collectors love them because no two error coins are ever exactly alike, and depending on how dramatic the error is, some can fetch impressive sums at auction, but we also have to place the 1979 penny in its historical context. Just a few years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint would change the penny's composition from 95% copper to mostly zinc with just a thin copper coating. The reason was rising copper prices that made it too expensive to keep producing coins from the metal. That means the 1979 cent is part of the last era of true copper pennies, and this adds to their collectability. Many collectors specifically seek out copper cents because they feel heavier, last longer, and represent a tradition that ended in the early 1980s. When you combine historical importance, the potential for errors, the rarity of certain proofs, and the desire for high-grade examples, the 1979 penny transforms from something ordinary into something extraordinary. While most examples you find in circulation today are only worth a cent or two, the rarest pieces in perfect condition or with dramatic errors have astonished collectors with their market value, and here's the part that gets everyone excited. Believe it or not, one of these little copper coins from 1979 has sold for an unbelievable $47,800. That's right, $47,800 for a single penny that most people would pass by without even noticing. It's almost hard to believe, but it's true. This is why coin collecting remains such a thrilling hobby. It's not just about the money, though the possibility is always there. It's about holding history in your hand, about discovering something rare in a place you least expect, and about never overlooking the value of what seems ordinary. So the next time you're sifting through your change, keep an eye out for that 1979 Lincoln cent. Look closely at the details, check the condition, and remember that you could be holding more than just a penny. You could be holding a piece of history worth thousands. Today we're traveling back to the mid-1970s to uncover the secrets of the 1975 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look small and simple but has surprised collectors with remarkable value when found in rare conditions. The Lincoln cent first entered circulation in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features the enduring portrait of Lincoln that has remained a symbol of honor, respect, and history. By 1975, Americans had been carrying this design in their pockets for more than 65 years. The reverse of the coin during this period displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo in 1959. This design was introduced for Lincoln's 150th birthday and stayed on the penny until 2008, becoming a familiar part of American coinage history. Now, let's consider what makes the 1975 penny stand out. At first glance, most 1975 Lincoln cents don't appear rare at all. Millions upon millions were minted at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, while the Denver coins bear the familiar D. They were produced for everyday use, filling cash registers, piggy banks, and jars across the country. For the average person in 1975, a penny was just a penny. But in the eyes of collectors, details matter, and certain pennies from this year carry characteristics that elevate their value far above their face value. The first factor to consider is the composition. The 1975 penny, like other cents of this era, was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This heavy copper composition would later be changed in 1982 to a lighter copper-plated zinc coin. Today, collectors appreciate these earlier copper pennies not only for their historic charm but also for their tangible weight and luster. They are coins that feel solid in the hand, a reminder of a different time in U.S. coinage, but the real excitement comes when we start looking at the details. Error coins and varieties from 1975 are the stars of the show. During minting, small imperfections can lead to big surprises. Some 1975 pennies show doubling in the date or inscriptions, known as double dies, which are instantly more collectible. Others may have been struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the design missing while showing extra blank space from the planchet. Still others may feature repunched mint marks, where the D of the Denver mint appears doubled or misaligned. Each of these minting anomalies turns an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Condition is another major factor in determining value. Most of the 1975 pennies still in circulation today are worn, discolored, or scratched from decades of use. But finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition with full luster and sharp details is like striking gold. Collectors pay a premium for coins that have been carefully preserved, whether they were kept in rolls, sets, or collections from the very beginning. A penny in mint state condition, graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of times its face value. Proof coins also add another layer of rarity. In 1975, the San Francisco Mint produced proof pennies for collectors, struck with specially polished dies that gave the coins a mirror-like surface and incredible sharpness. These proof coins were not intended for circulation, but sometimes they appear in collections or inheritances, and their beauty and condition can make them worth significantly more. When you put all these elements together, the rich history, the enduring design, the solid copper composition, the possibility of rare mint errors, and the importance of condition, you begin to see why the 1975 Lincoln penny captures the imagination of coin enthusiasts. It's not just a piece of change, it's a piece of history, a collectible, and potentially, a hidden fortune. And now we come to the most exciting part. While most 1975 Lincoln cents are worth just their face value or a little more, certain rare examples in exceptional condition or with unique errors have sold for astonishing amounts. Believe it or not, one of these 1975 pennies reached a value of $50,700, yes, $50,700 for a single penny that could have slipped unnoticed into someone's pocket change. That's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that incredible treasures are still out there, waiting to be discovered. So the next time you see a penny from 1975, take a moment to really look at it. Check for errors, examine its condition, and remember that even the smallest coin can tell a great story and possibly bring a great reward. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the fascinating world of the 1975 Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this story and want to learn more about valuable coins, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss the next amazing discovery. And as always, happy collecting and keep searching, because the next big find could be sitting right in your change.